Hello everyone, I hope you're all good and healthy. So
Hello, Professor.
just wanted to remind you if you missed and if you just about the final exam that we're gonna have it, and all the details about the final exam is available on Moodle. You can check it, it's here. Time is 7 p.m. and 26th of April, just remind you. And what are the chapters are here? The cost of capital is not the whole chapter that you're responsible for, it's just one example from it. And the page and the example number is given here. Today we are going to pass through the questions one by one, calculation-based questions, so that if you have any questions, you may ask. We can discuss it, like specifically from the chapters dividend share repurchase basics and the dividend share repurchase analysis. Today I'm going to over dividend share repurchase basics, and the next week we're gonna just cover dividend share repurchase analysis. So talking about the dividend share repurchase basics, but I want to just go from the slides example quickly, just to remind you. So in here we have got share repurchase and the earnings per share. So there is a company that is planning to purchase 100 million of shares in terms of dollars. Its current stock price is $25 per share. And there are 16 million of shares outstanding. So prior to this repurchase, EPS without repurchase, I mean earnings per share before the repurchase, is $3 per share. So what is the earnings per share under each of the two scenarios? But we've got in here three different scenarios. But mainly these two scenarios are similar with the related to the borrowing with the different interest rate. Earnings yield in here is equal to 12%, which is EPS over the price. So we need to compare the EPS, sorry, earnings yield with the rate in order to see what will be the impact on the EPS, on the earnings per share after the buyback. So finding the net income or earnings, in here in this question, we are not given the earnings, okay? First of all, we need to know what is the EPS, how the EPS is estimated. This is the question you should always ask yourself, how the EPS is estimated. Earnings per share, it doesn't matter before or after the buyback. This is what you need to know. It's earnings, earnings divided by number of shares outstanding after the buyback. Okay, when the shares repurchased, or we just divide by the number of the shares. Let's make it this. This is the formulation of the earnings, okay? And once we know that the formula is given to you, but we know that the EPS before buyback is given to you is $3, and number of the shares outstanding is given, and what we don't know. So we need to know, basically, we need to know EPS, earnings per share after, okay? This is what we need to estimate. This is earnings or net income is the same thing, divided by number of shares. Okay, let me just open the bracket. This is what we know it. But with subtraction with the number of shares repurchased. Number of shares repurchased, okay? This is the idea of the finding the EPS after it. However, we are not given any earnings in here. We are not given any earnings. So to find the earnings is just simple here. We are given the EPS, we are given the number of the shares outstanding. So it's just straightforward calculation. We are putting the unknown on one side and known on the other side to estimate. So earnings is equal to number of the shares multiplied by the current EPS. And as we can see it here, that 60 million is the number of the shares outstanding. and EPS is the $3 that we have it. So we multiply, we get earnings, calculate. Then after that, we estimate the EPS after once we have the earnings, they're similar, okay? They're exactly the same thing. They mean the same thing, net income and the earnings. So after once we have estimated net income, we are given the shares and number of the shares to repurchase, okay? So we can see that $100 million will be repurchased back, but each stock will cost $25 each. So we just 100 divided by 25 will give you 4 million of shares, 4 million of the number of the shares. Basically, we just substitute like net income divided by number of the shares after the repurchase, like 16 minus 4, which is 12 million. And that would give you actually $4 per share. The EPS will be equal.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So, like, as I understand how stock market works, it's every time the stock is repurchased, it raises its price, right?
Yes. Why?
That's when they assume that like they purchase for the same amount, like for $25 per share.
Yeah.
Maybe they purchase the first million for $25, but then it starts moving because the volume is just too much.
Yeah, that's very correct. But you cannot predict exactly by how much it will be raised. But this is your expectation. Let's say the Apple. Let's say the Apple was $20 per share. I'm just making up the numbers. I don't remember exactly the price per share before a buyback. And as you realize that there was some share repurchase took place, okay, and it still is $20. If share repurchased, okay, so what would you expect the stock price to be then? To go up or down? If the share repurchase for Apple?
Repurchase, then go up because
go up. So this is what your expectation. So it is it gives you a kind of strategy to go and buy now, okay? To go and buy now, to go for long, okay? You buy it and in order to resell it later when the price jumps up. This is what the expectation comes with share repurchase. Or if the price went down or up. So, but it's in reality, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be exactly the same, but more or less it follows that rule.
Okay, I got you.
So this is we use when we use the idle cash, okay, to repurchase back the shares. It might be the case we can borrow the money. It might be the case that we can borrow the money. So if this is the case that we're borrowing the money, basically to find the net income, we are following the same rule, but with one condition, that if there is a lending, we should subtract the interest from the net income. We subtract the interest because when we derive the net income, we always, what do you call it? Subtraction, the interest is must before paying the taxes. So we subtract the interest in here as well. So it gives us 41 million as a net income or earnings. Then the process is the same. EPS is equal to earnings divided by the number of the shares. Earnings over the number of the shares. Earnings per share. Net income, when it's 15%, same. The logic is behind of this is same, 2.75 per share. This is related to how to estimate earnings per share, okay? Let me move to the questions end of the chapter. I'm not closing the slides because there's another question that I will come to it. It's related to the book value per share. So in here, we are given a company that has got 1 million of shares outstanding and the earnings of $2 million. The company decides to use 10 millions of idle cash to repurchase share in the open market. So the company's shares trading at $50 per share. The company uses its entire 10 million of idle cash to repurchase shares at the market price. The company's earnings per share will be closest to, so we need to estimate the EPS equal to. So the logic is the same here. First of all, we need to find how many shares will be repurchased back, because we know that EPS is equal to net income, which is earnings, divided by number of the shares. Okay, this is what we know it actually. So EPS before buyback, is equal to, following the previously shown the formula, is earnings is equal to 2 million divided by the number of the shares which is outstanding, which is 1 million. And that would give us actually $2 of EPS before buyback. Okay, this is before. And after that, we need to estimate EPS after buyback. But in order to estimate the EPS after buyback, we need to know how many shares we have repurchased, not in terms of dollar, I mean in terms of the number of the shares, which is very easy to do so. We know that we're going to use 10 million of idle cash to repurchase the share with $50 per share. That would give us actually how many shares will be repurchased back. If you 10 million divided by 50, it should equal to 200,000 shares will be repurchased back. This is what we know. And after that, we know that how many shares will be outstanding after the repurchase is just exactly the difference between 1 million and 200,000. So now EPS after buyback is equal to 2 million divided by 800,000 shares. Why 800? Because 1 million of outstanding share before the repurchase minus the number of the shares repurchased. And your EPS in this case will be equal to, if it's 2 million divided by this, you should get $2.50 per share. So the answer is C in here. Okay. While explaining, please do not hesitate and ask the questions. You're welcome.
Could you please go back to the first test that you've been doing on the scenario 2 in the slides?
Yeah, surely. Here we go. In scenario 2, we subtract the interest cost only here. We borrow at 7. We borrow the money to repurchase the same amount of the shares, 4 million of shares, but we borrow at 7%. So it's a cash outflow we should subtract from the net income. So from the income statement structure, we know that in order to derive the net income, we need to, first of all, from EBIT, from earnings before interest and tax, we should subtract the interest in order to come up with the, what do you call it, net income itself. So this way we get the net income. From this we subtract it, and the rest is same, like 7% all out of the money that we are borrowing. We are borrowing $100 million to repurchase 4 million of shares.
Okay. But just if for example, the question would be like, would it be profitable in the first scenario and second scenario? Then we can just do it on the assumption that 12 is greater than 7 and
So,
12 is less than 15.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
Because
actually the different interest rates are given here to show you that if earnings yield is 12% and it is more than cost of debt, if earnings yield is more than cost of debt, okay, then you would see that earnings per share will be going up. This is what the shareholders desire. But if you realize that the cost of debt is more than your earnings yield, then definitely the earnings per share after the buyback will be going down. But if they are equal, there will be no change in it.
thank you for your clarification, sir.
You're welcome. Now, this case we understood, okay? It's good. There's no any doubt about it. Then we move to the question 9. In question 9, we are given common shares that sells at $40 per share, and their estimated price to earning ratio, not EPS but PE, okay, price to earning ratio is 32. And if this is so, in order to estimate the earnings price or earnings yield, and we know we borrow like funds to repurchase the share after the cost of debt, and EPS is most likely. So in here, it's mostly like theoretical one. You need to just compare. If you know that the price earnings is this one, but you need to find what is the earnings price, like earnings yield. Let me just show it to you again. I mean this one, earnings yield, which is earnings price over the price, okay? But in the exam, it's in the question, it's given like 25/3 in the question. So here it's price earnings ratio is 32. Then in order to find the earnings yield, we need to just restructure the formula, like changing the from numerator to denominator, which will be at the end of the day like 1/32, the earnings yield. And this earnings yield 1/32 will be equal to actually 0.0 something 3, okay? I don't remember exactly, but this was the answer. Something, and it goes there, some number comes as well, some decimal numbers. And we need to compare this 3% with 5%. So as I said, if earnings yield, here go, if earnings yield is less than cost of debt, then EPS will go down. If earnings yield more than cost of debt, EPS will go up. Keep it in mind. So earnings yield 3% and cost of debt is 5%. We can see that earnings yield is 3% is less than this. So earnings yield is less than cost of debt. We expect the earnings per share goes down, will be decreasing.
But in this case, we cannot calculate the exact amount, right?
Unlike yeah, because we are not given a number of the shares. Number of shares are not given here. But in the exam, what I like to do in the exam, I don't know, maybe you have realized it or not, especially in the multiple choices. I just copy and paste this number, okay? I just copy and paste this text into the question. The students, they think that it is exactly the same from the book, and they just get directly this answer without calculating. The only thing that I change here is removing this or replacing by before tax cost and given the tax rate. It just kind of hint to you, read the questions carefully, all the conditions that are given. If it was like before tax cost of debt, definitely it's not 5%. If it was, let's say, 40% the tax and before, then 5 times by 5 should be subtracted, this 40% would give you something. Let me just calculate with my phone. Like 2, it will be exactly 3%, okay? It will be exactly 3%. So after tax cost of debt will be 3%, it will be less than this. And the answer rightly just moves from B to A actually here. If it was the after, if it was the before instead of this. So take it to your notion.
Excuse me, why 40% we multiplied by? Or you just said
okay, let me say that I might ask you the question here, like tax rate is 40% as well, additional, okay? Sorry. And we are not given this, and this is, for example, not after, but before. So I don't have it. let's say. It's before tax cost of debt. So if this is the case, basically, in order to find, how can you find the cost of debt if it's before tax? It's 5% times 1 minus 0.40, which is 3%. And our earnings yield will be equal to 1 over 32, which is 3.25%. So in this case, what do you expect to happen to EPS?
Increase.
Increase, because it's higher. So be careful in the exam. I mean, it's not only this question, but it might be other questions as well. So don't work as a robot, just copy and paste from the book. That's why I'm just trying to explain clearly to make you to understand how everything is calculated, to understand the logic behind this. A company can borrow the funds and after-tax cost of debt is 4.5%, and the company stock price is $40 per share. Earnings per share is $2, and the company has 50 million shares outstanding. And if the company borrows just enough to repurchase 2 million shares of stock at a prevailing market price, the company's EPS most likely to decrease or increase. First of all, you may calculate everything, and you may not calculate everything. You just calculate one part. Let's say we need to calculate earnings yield, and then we can understand whether it's acceptable to go. So earnings yield is too easy to calculate. It's earnings over price. Earnings is $2 and the price is 40. So we can just make the calculation in the following way, like 2 over 40. It should give you, actually, if 2 over 4 it's 50 and 2 over 40 it's 5%. So in here, let me just type it. 2 over 40, it should give us 0.05. So we have 5% and 4.5. So what do you expect to EPS to be? Increasing or decreasing?
Decrease.
Be careful. EPS, so look, earnings yield is more than cost of debt.
Increase.
Your EPS increase. In here, your EPS, so in here, your earnings yield was 3.125%, 125. So which is less the cost of debt. So in here, we said it's decrease. And in here, we got the vice versa. Or if you want, you can calculate and you can get it exactly. Like you will repurchase 2 million of share stock prevailing at the market price. And we have 50 million of shares. So earnings, you can easily find the earnings as well, how much your net income will be. And make it in this way to find it. Can you find the earnings in here? Earnings yield? Who can find the earnings yield in here?
Just a moment.
Okay. We don't need to find it, but I want you to find it just to understand the logic. We have $40 per share.
30 million.
How did you find it?
2 earnings per share times outstanding shares.
Yes,
15
by 15 million, and it makes you 30 million.
Yes.
And okay, let's make it so 30 million. So $2 multiplied by 15 million, and which makes you 30 million of shares.
And then subtracted by 4.5% times
2 minus 2 million minus 0.045 times
just a moment. 40 times 15.
Careful. Be careful.
oh.
$40 per share. And how many shares you will repurchase?
2 million. So
2 million.
it's
So,
80 million.
so 80 million. And your final answer for the net income? This is net income. We are trying to find it. So we don't have to subtract -2. Why I'm subtracting -2 in here? We
I don't know.
have
I wanted to comment, but I thought that's how it should be.
Okay, this is how it should be, okay? We'll find the net income. And at the end, let me just try it, okay? I want to just clarify our theory with practice, we can say. So 0.045 times 80 million, which is 3 million,
3,600,000.
and minus 30 million, which is 26 million 400. And after that, we can find the EPS after buyback. So 400,000 divided by number of shares outstanding after. So it's 50 minus
13.
12, 13 million. So 26 million divided by 13 million.
2 point something.
0.03.
203. So did our EPS increased?
Yes.
Yeah,
Slightly.
it increased. Okay. Yeah, it increased. Doesn't matter. By numbers it increased. So we just justified our solution. Everything is clear up to now. Okay. If something is not clear, please do not hesitate, do not feel shy or something else. Ask the questions. Okay, now we are coming to the, what is here? We need to find earnings per share as well. Okay, it's easy as well. There's no problem. So we are given the shares outstanding before buyback and earnings per share before buyback, which is $4. And share price at the time of buyback and after tax cost of borrowing. And this corporation is plans to borrow just enough to repurchase 100,000 shares will be repurchased. Okay, 100,000 shares will be repurchased. And shares outstanding was 3.1 million. And we need to find the EPS after the buyback, which is pretty easy as well. First of all, we need to find what is your net income. So total earnings before buyback will be equal, how much?
15.
So $4 per share, look, $4 per share times by the number of the shares will give you total earnings. Without subtraction, we are without subtraction, okay, not without subtraction, before the subtraction of the interest.
12.4 million.
12.4 million. So total earning will be equal to 12.4 million. 400,000, so 12,400,000. And this is total earnings before the buyback. We are just following the formula. Then how much money did you borrow? Loan.
100,000 times 50.
100,000 times 50, which is?
5 million.
Which is 5 million. And another question, what is the cost of borrowing? Interest you pay? Basically, your net income will be in this way. 400,000 minus your interest cost. And your interest cost is 6% of 5 million, which is 300,000. And how many shares will be after the repurchase left outstanding in order to estimate the EPS. So 12 minus 100,000 divided by 3,100,000 minus the number of the shares outstanding. Sorry, minus one number of the share that will be repurchased, which is 100,000. So 3 million minus this amount will be equal to 3 million. So 12,100,000 divided by 3 million. Your EPS in this case should be equal to 4.03. But before the calculation, it will be easy for us to understand whether the share is going up or the EPS will go up or down. How can we do it? Anyone who can help me before calculation? Earnings yield. How do we estimate the earnings yield?
It's 4/50.
4/50. Yes, 4/50. 4/50. It's 8%. Okay. Your earnings yield is 8%. We can see that it is greater than this. So we expect that EPS after buyback will go up. Yes, in all cases, they go up. So we need to find it out. So we use this way of calculation. Okay, let's go further.
Excuse me. But the second method, we just find the earnings yield and what?
In the second method, you mean it's not a method, it's just to show you what will happen to your EPS. It will go up or down. We understood it will go up, but by how much, we don't know. We need to estimate.
And in order to estimate, we need to perform the whole calculation, right?
Yeah, the whole way of calculation that we did so far.
Okay.
Like net income, then finding the EPS and so on.
So answer A, right? 4.03.
Yeah, answer
Okay.
is. Now we are coming to the book value per share, which is another subject. Let me just remind you and review whatever we did so far. So book value per share is given, let's say there are two companies, okay? They're two different companies. Book value per share, some rules are given for the book value per share as well. Book value per share will decrease if repurchase market price is greater than original book value per share. Book value per share will go down if market price at the time of the repurchase is less than original book value per share. I mean before the book value per share. And this is book value per share after the buyback. So there are two examples are given. Share price ABC and DEF are both $25 per share, and each company has 20 million shares outstanding. So in both cases, either it's ABC or DEF, they both have $25 per share and 20 million of shares. 20 million of shares outstanding. And both companies are planning to buy back 10 million of shares. They're going to buy it. However, there are some additional information are given. ABC Incorporation has the book value, okay? Let's make it like this. ABC has got the book value equal to $300 million. While the DEF have got the book value, has got the book value of 700 million. Calculate book value per share for each company after the share repurchase. Okay, first of all, let us calculate the book value per share before the repurchase. So in order to calculate book value per share before, or as they call it, original, it is just straightforward. Book value over number of shares. So book value was 300 in this case $1 million divided by number of shares outstanding, which was for both companies 20 million. This is for ABS, okay? This is for ABS. And for DEF, book value per share will be equal to 700 million divided by 20 million, and it should give us, and in here I didn't calculate, just a second, sorry. So $15 per share, and in here I have $35 per share. I have $35 for DEF. The book value per share, the original one is $35. It should be original, sorry, just to clarify it. And in this case, we know that we need to estimate the book value of per share after the repurchase, using this, following the same logic. And we know that here's the price. If market price is greater than the book value original per share, the book value per share will be greater. So let's compare. $25 per share. We can see that for ABS, repurchase price market is greater than this, okay, by $15, greater than this. So 25 is more than $15. So we expect that the book value per share will decrease. And for the case of DEF, we can see that $25 is less than $35. We expect that the book value per share will increase. So this is the logic behind the book value per share. Now we can just estimate the book value per share for both companies. Let me just follow here. So book value per share after is equal to 300 million. Wait a second, but we need to subtract the number of the shares, the value of the shares that is repurchased. And the repurchase value, it was $10 million here. So that means that 300 million minus 10 million and divided by the number of shares outstanding after buyback. Before it was 20 million minus the number of the shares will be repurchased, which we can estimate by 10 million of dollar divided by 25. It gives you, just a second, do I have it written here somewhere? Yeah, it's 400,000 shares. 400,000 shares, we can say. So 400,000. 400,000. So 20 million divided minus 400,000, and this book value per share will give you for ABC company, and which will be equal to, if we can see it from the down, it's $14.80. And the same thing we can do for def. Book value like 700 minus 10 and 20 divided this, and we can see that book value per share will be equal to, after buyback, 35.20. Yes. Okay, do you have any questions up to this moment? Okay, it seems there is no question. So let me just clear it. And let's go to the book. So if the company with 20 million of shares outstanding decides to repurchase 2 million shares at a prevailing market price $30 per share, at the time of the buyback, the company reports total asset of 850 million and total liability of 250 million. As a result of the buyback, the company book value per share will be like equal to. So first of all, we need to find what is the original book value per share, and we can compare with the market price per share in order to determine what's going to happen to. So we need to find the book value of the equity mainly, and this will be actually your book value. Total asset is given and total liability is given. How can we find it? Book value of the equity is total asset minus liabilities. Logic from the accounting equation. So book value of equity, because we are dealing with the shares and the stocks, and we're talking the book value. We are talking about the book value of the equity, not the book value of the equipment that you bought or something else. It's the book value of the shares and so on. So book value is equal 850 minus 250 is equal to 600, and book value per share is equal to book value divided by price, by the number of the shares outstanding. And we've got here 2 million of shares, 20 million shares will be outstanding. So we divide by the 20 million by number of the shares. That's from the formula that we have it. Number of shares, and that would give us certainly 600 over 20, and the book value per share, original one before the buyback, will be equal to $30. And now we can compare what could happen.
Remain the same.
Remain the same. Remain the same. Even if you can calculate, you'll get the same. You can just come up to the rule that we have already mentioned. It will remain the same because we see that the book value per share, original one, is equal to the market price. So 30, they will remain the same. But we can calculate book value per share is equal to 600 million. It's in the bracket. And how many shares will be repurchased? 2 million shares at market price. So we will subtract this 2 million by $30 per share, and divided by the number of the shares outstanding after the buyback. 20 million minus 2 million. And that should certainly give you a $30 per share. Is that clear? Okay, it seems everything is clear. question 13, and it is the last question that I'm going to solve today for this chapter. And now let's gather the following information about the company. Number of shares outstanding, earnings per share $2, price earnings 20, and the book value per share is 30. If the company repurchased 1 million of shares at a prevailing market price, the resulting book value per share will be equal. So they're asking what is the book value per share. First of all, we need to just summarize everything. We need to know what is the, how to find the book value per share. It is the book value. What is the book value first of all? What is the book value equal to here, in here? We need to understand that book value, first of all. Second, we need to know how much money we'll spend on the shares outstanding buying that, and divided by the number of the shares outstanding minus number of the shares repurchased back. So if you put it by formula down, so book value per share. So original is $30, okay? The book value of per share original one is $30. We need to know what is the book value of equity over number of the shares. Can we know book value equity from here? How can you find the book value of equity?
Could I say
Yes, sure, of course, I'm waiting.
it's 10 million times 30?
So we are just rearranging it. Okay, book value equal to 10 million times 30.
30 book value per share.
So that will give us 300 million. That's great. Okay. Then we need to estimate. We know the book value per share this much, and 1 million share will be. We can just estimate book value per share after. Put it on this way. So open the bracket. 300 million minus. We have 1 million of shares outstanding, and the price. What is the market price? How can we know the market price? EPS is 2.
Here times P over E.
Okay, which is
40.
40. Great. So 40 times 1 million, which is 40 million. Okay. Minus 40 million. And this divided by. Okay, let me just show it in the bracket. How did you estimate? Above here. So price is equal to, it's a P over E, price earnings ratio, multiplied by EPS. That will give you the price. So in here we have 10 millions of number of shares outstanding. So 10 million minus 1 million. And that would give us, if you calculate, it should give you 29. Let me just see it. So 300 minus 40 million and divided by 9. 28.88. So it's more or less equal to 29. So 28.88. If you approximate, you should get it as 29. So we select C. Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions related to this chapter? Anything
No,
you'd like to ask?
clear, thank you.
Okay, everything is clear. Good.
Sir,
Yes,
Is it
please.
possible to revise some weight average cost of capital calculations during office hours?
I will
or-
come to that. No. I wanted to revise it again. I will revise all the chapters, guys.
Okay, great.
I will
Before
revise
final,
like
right?
today. For example, we have next week. We're gonna meet two times. So in these meetings, I will revise all the necessary questions. So there will be nothing left to the office hours. If anything left that you could not understand, you're mostly welcome for the office hours. But specifically, I don't put any office hours. Why? Because you're so many, and it might not convenient to you the timing as well. So what I do basically, you give me a time of appointment. I just get it. If it's convenient for both of us, we meet at that time. It can be 30 minutes, it can be 40 minutes, it doesn't matter. So as long as I answer all of your questions. So you just write me, get appointment, and we can meet if you have any questions, if you want to meet with me.
Okay, but we're gonna discuss CAPM and WAC, right? Next.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss it surely. Especially that
Okay.
question that I left, I'm going to over again that question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Then see you on next week. Thank you so much.
Goodbye. Have
If you
a
have
great
any
week.
questions, but don't leave it. Don't leave it. I will take the attendance.
Oh yeah.
I'll let you go. Don't leave, please. Okay. Rinat? Ablayhan?
Here.
Okay. Camila? Camila is here? No, she's not. Temirlan?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Azamat here.
Here.
Alessia?
Yep.
Gani? Alexander? Park is not here. Alibek?
I'm here.
Nariman?
I'm here, Professor.
Marlene? Rustem?
Здесь.
Jangir? Vladislav?
I'm here, Professor.
Okay. Azamat?
Here.
Here. Good. Okay, thank you so much. If you have any questions, stay here and ask. If not, see you on next week.
Actually, sir, can I ask you?
Yeah, sure, of course, go ahead.
Yeah, it's more related, sort of like to the project. I just wanted to, I don't know, improve my skills in the financial statement readings and all this stuff, because
Yes, yes,
I
please.
recognize my mistake mainly came from failure to identify cost of goods sold and all the other variables from the financial sheets for the company we were given. How is it possible to improve this skill?
For the financial statements or the calculation, the mistakes you made it, you mean?
Yeah, I mainly couldn't obtain the information on COGS, and like some debt ratios were a little bit not a little.
Azamat, would it be possible for you, I'm asking you again, sorry for that, and would it be possible for you to write me either WhatsApp or email? I will just pass it to Mr. Talgat concerning
Okay.
the project to
Yes,
get the
yes.
full, because he's the one who was grading it.
Yeah, I just thought like it will be too much because he has too much work.
No,
That's why.
no. He will be. He's really pleased to give the clarification for his own work.
Yeah, okay. I'm
He's
just really
really
curious.
don't think that it will be too much or time. You're right, and it is good that you're asking your mistakes, because you have to learn it. That's why you are here. If you make any
Yes.
mistakes, you have to learn it.
Thank you. I'll write to your WhatsApp and
Yeah, write me the
to-
WhatsApp, and I will just redirect it to Mr. Talgat, and he will get reply back to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. You too. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Take care, guys. Take care.